Welcome to Alberta Conservation Association's Harvest Your Own podcast, the resource for everything hunting, navigating through the field, the butcher shop, and the kitchen. Life is all about great food. Let's get started.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Brad Fenson, an avid outdoor enthusiast who has worked as a freelance journalist, photographer, and public speaker for over 3 decades. I have hunted, fished, and foraged all my life and hope to share my passion for the outdoors. Along the way, I want to encourage everyone to harvest wild proteins and enjoy the satisfaction of providing the next meal for your family. Our goal is to educate, entertain, and inspire individuals to get outdoors and create a connection between food, health, and your future meals. Welcome to Harvest Your Own. Tonight, I've got some special guests and long-term friends, both TJ Schwanky and Vanessa Harrop. Welcome to Harvest Your Own.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks so much, Brad.
Yeah, we go back a long ways. We've done lots of things. I know a lot of your history, and it's inspiring. You basically live a hunting lifestyle. You embrace it in all ways, but in order for people to understand what a hunting lifestyle is, I think we need to start at the beginning. TJ, how did you get started hunting? I know you don't come from a hunting family.
Yeah, and I guess that is kind of the unique thing is, Mom and Dad never hunted. I had one grandpa that, shot some grouse during the Depression to feed the family, but there's really no history of hunting in my family. And I don't know, I honestly believe some people are just born hunters. And I think I was one of those people. It was just, from the time, of my first memories, it was, I was looking through the pages about their life and Field and Stream, just dreaming about one day hunting. And, while Mom and Dad weren't hunters themselves, they certainly facilitated it as best they could. And, probably when I was, just old enough to hunt, and I don't know what that would have been, maybe 14, Mom would drive me out to the field and I'd go duck hunting, goose hunting by myself. And so, they were super supportive and it just kind of, I guess, morphed from there.
Yeah, I wonder if it was easier back then, if people were more understanding or parents or, lifestyle was different when the family slowed down on Sunday to watch Walt Disney. And, having supportive parents obviously made a huge difference. But, you took it on pretty quick. You went from hunting ducks and geese on your own to having a trap line on the edge of the city and onward and upward.
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, I have no idea what it was deep somewhere in my psyche that drove me, but it was just all I could think about and all I wanted to do. So, I just pursued it with their help. And maybe it was more accepted back then and, more publicly available. But, most of my friends didn't hunt. I had very few friends even that hunted. So it was kind of a strange phenomenon.
Right. And speaking of not having any experience hunting or any friends that hunt, Vanessa, when's the first time you actually thought about hunting?
Probably about 2 months before I went on my first hunt.
Yeah, you tell us where you grew up, a bit of your background, and I'm sure it doesn't include much having to do with hunting.
No, not at all. I just like TJ, I don't come from a hunting background. Neither of my parents ever hunted, or grandparents or anything else. And so, I grew up in Victoria, BC. I spent most of my childhood either competing with horses or sailing, and spending a lot of time on the water. And never even had any exposure at all to hunting until I met TJ.
And I guess I'd have to ask, what was it that sort of flipped the switch that you thought, hey, that sounds like fun. I want to go try that.
It was actually kind of an interesting situation. TJ had to go and sight in some rifles. And this was just when we were early stages of getting to know one another. And he said, you want to come along? And I'm like, sure, I've never done that before. I've, planked around with old rifles and that sort of thing, but never anything in particular. So we went out there and started shooting, and he had just a whole array of different kinds of rifles out. And I thought this was so much fun. And, by the end of the day, I just this is amazing. I just want to see if I can go hunting. And he's like, well, you've got to jump through some hoops. You've got to go and get your hunter education. You've got to practice. You've got to get your license, everything else. And I'm like, okay. So, left that weekend. Then by the following weekend, I was already registered for the hunter education course. So next thing I know, TJ is like, hey, want to go hunting up in the Northwest Territories for a central barren ground caribou? I'm like, I jumped at the chance. I didn't know at the time whether I could actually shoot anything when it actually came in front of me. And that was the big thing. It's, you can practice and practice and practice until you actually have an animal in front of you and you have that opportunity. Can you pull the trigger?
Yeah, there's a lot of emotions and psychology involved, isn't there?
There certainly is. And I know my heart was just pounding outside of my chest when I was stalking that caribou. And it was weird, like when you got into position, you got down on the gun, and it was, I just had this eerie calm come over me, and I just knew what to do.
And you did it big amazing. Time. Yeah. Like, Harvest Your Own is more about helping people get started and the food and the experience. But I think everyone dreams about shooting some big antlers and horns to get started, or sometime during their hunting career. But you started off with a bang in more ways than one.
I certainly did. I was lucky enough. It was actually TJ's turn to shoot, I believe, and we spotted this ginormous caribou on the horizon, and everybody's like, no, Vanessa needs to shoot this, and she needs to shoot it with her muzzleloader. And so, I was really blessed, one, because TJ arranged that whole trip for me, and two, that he gave up his spot in order for me to take this absolutely amazing caribou that ended up being, at the time, number 4 muzzleloader.
Right. It's pretty incredible. So
yeah.
There's a lot more to this story. Like, there's a lot going on between you two to make this happen. There's a real will and a desire to try it because TJ's interested, but you caught on fire with it pretty quick. And TJ, trying to mentor someone and show them the ropes and include them and stuff, you're really needing to work together.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, certainly we did. And I think, the added challenge in all of this is we were shooting a hunting television show at the time. So poor Vanessa kind of gets thrust into not only her first hunting day in life, but, her first day on hunting television in her life. So there was a lot going on to make it happen. But it's kind of interesting, you just kind of, I guess, mentioned the food aspect. And I think that was a big start in Vanessa's and I relationship too, is, I introduced her to wild game, like very, very early on. And, it's always been a big part of what we did. And, even I kind of look at that first trip up to the Northwest Territories, some of the First Nations people had done some traditional harvesting there, and they'd taken a swan, and I forget what else they'd harvested, but, we jumped right in and wanted to try all that meat at the same time. And that's been a pretty constant throughout, our hunting career and our, and our relationship career together is that tie to food and that tie to, getting our food from the land.
It's embracing that lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys actually use a tagline for describing that.
Yeah. So, I mean, our tagline for the show, is, the hunt is about the journey. And that journey starts, the day the first inkling of a hunt comes into your mind. And, that journey isn't complete. I wouldn't say ever, but, certainly that journey takes you through the hunt and the experience and everything else. But the culmination of that journey is consuming that harvest.
Absolutely. And, the big reason I wanted to do this show is because I've had a lot of feedback, and there's a lot of ladies come and say, well, my husband hunts, but I'm scared to go with him. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'll react. This is exactly your story, and the reactions were all good and positive and have grown into your everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, we live this 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, when most people plan a vacation, they go to an all-inclusive in Mexico. When we plan a vacation, it better include hunting, it better include culture, it better include food. It's all, like, we don't go anywhere unless we can actually go and hunt. That's what we do.
Yeah, and you make it much more than a hunt. It really is a journey in life and well beyond.
Oh, definitely.
Anyone that follows you on social media knows that you were recently in Spain and you shot some ibex, which, is fun, adventuresome, but what you did afterwards was, I'd say you should get a job with tourism in Spain, because you did an incredible job of showing what's out there and what people should explore, and don't just.
I mean, I guess just a little addendum to the Spain trip. Just before we went away, Mom was scheduled to go in for surgery, and she's 88 years old, and I mean, it was pretty stressful for us going away at the time, but she insisted we go. So we decided to kind of blast our way through the hunt as fast as we could, and primarily because, in case things went wrong with her surgery, we wanted to be able to come home early. Also, the weather was not really conducive to good hunting there, so there was a few things, but then so we made it through our hunt in actually 6 days, and we had 14 days booked. And then we just kind of looked at each other and see what happens with Mom. And she happened to call that night, and everything went wonderfully. So yeah, it was the first chance we've really had to tack a true vacation on to the end of a hunt. And we ended up touring. We just rented a car and kind of went on a whim and kind of went where we wanted and stayed where we wanted with no real plan, and saw most of Spain, and probably ate and drank most of Spain too.
It's encouraging. I love the lifestyle, that we live it as well. But you mentioned your mom. She's such a hearty soul. I love being around her. Your mom and dad have embraced this lifestyle and really come to depend on, some proteins every year coming from your freezer.
Oh, absolutely. And, Mom and Dad are the first ones out here helping butcher and everything else. And, they do eat wild meat as a regular part of their diet. But, Mom and Dad live in a retirement community, and there's a lot of older ladies there that had husbands that hunted, or, older gentlemen that just can't hunt anymore. And, we love to share that harvest with them as well. And Mom and Dad kind of become the facilitator for that. And, when we have extra meat, we give it to them, and they share it in their community. And it's kind of a neat story. I just wrote an article about community hunters here, kind of going back to the First Nations and Inuit, where there'll be just a handful of hunters for a big community. And I think having that tie, even as, European people who don't probably have that tie as much, but it's an important part of what we do as hunters is sharing that harvest with the community.
Yeah, and it's full circle for your mom. It's her reward for getting up on Saturday mornings and driving you out to some local field where you shot ducks and geese by yourself, and then she had to go home again. Now she's rewarded with elk and deer and moose and other fine table fare, but she's actually taken it the step further. Like you said, she comes out and helps cut, wrap, and mark, and enjoys all aspects of it. She doesn't hunt herself, but I bet you if she was given the chance, knowing her, she might even try it.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, and they, when we come back from a hunt, we typically always get together for dinner after, and they want to hear every detail, see every photo, and then, they'll watch the episode on TV 3 or 4 times. So, they become really, really ingrained in this lifestyle as well.
Right. People that want to get into hunting and this type of lifestyle, they can certainly find more on Harvest Your Own.
This podcast is produced for Harvest Your Own, a program dedicated to those who want to reconnect with food and health through their experiences outdoors. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a resource for individuals to learn more about hunting and the outdoors. There's information to get you started and ensure that your compass stays pointed in the right direction to be successful. Where's your next meal coming from?
Vanessa, the next questions are for you. There had to have been some significant challenges coming into the hunting fraternity with somebody that's well established, has a hunting television show, lots of experience, and sort of goes at things with breakneck speed. Is that a good way to put it?
Definitely. I mean, exactly like you say. I don't think when I first started hunting with TJ that I was taken seriously as a hunter. I think a lot of people looked at me as if I was just, hanging on the coattails of, this well-established hunter. And it probably wasn't until I got my bighorn sheep in 2007 that I was actually starting to get taken seriously as a hunter. And it was just, it was at that point, too, where there were a lot of women hunters joining their husbands and stuff like that. And so it was questionable back in that time whether you were just vanity TV and wanting to be there and be the arm candy, or whether you were a serious hunter.
Well, I know for a fact I've hunted with TJ a fair bit, and he can wear a person out and make your legs hurt for days. And I know for a fact that his sheep hunting is a passion of his, and having somebody new to share with, the onus would be on you to keep up. Otherwise, he would hunt on his own. So
yeah, and I mean, I did have some challenges with that. That's for sure. When I first started hiking with him, I was definitely not in sheep shape or any kind of mountain shape. And I also had a little bit of an added challenge in that I had a huge fear of heights.
Oh, that is big. So I knew that I knew you put in significant time to get in sheep shape, is what I'll call it, because, like I said, TJ lives it and hikes hard, and anyone that's hunted with him knows that even if he's tired, he's never going to tell you or show it. So to keep up,
exactly.
To keep up, you would have to make a serious commitment to yourself and, again, the lifestyle in order to pursue things in that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally loved it. I just had to get past a few hurdles.
And that's interesting because most people be listening, like, how could she love that? Like having to work out and train and do stuff to be able to climb mountains with somebody that's done it for years at breakneck speed, that, But it is true. You love it.
Yeah. I mean, there is nothing better than climbing a mountain in the dark and finding a sheep bed and curling up in it at the top of the mountain and waiting for the sunrise.
I thought I was the only one that needed to sleep when I got to the top. Yeah, it's fun. Have you taken your experience and influenced others with it?
I believe I have. I mean, I think through the TV show, I've done a lot of writing seminars. Anybody I talk to, whether we're at hunting shows, fundraisers, I'm just so passionate about it. So when anybody even approaches me and tries to talk to me about things, I just can't help myself. It's, like the passion just comes out in me, and you won't get me to shut up. So I try to share my journey as much as possible with as many as possible.
I think that's a common.
I think Vanessa's probably downplaying that a little bit too. I mean, she probably influences, 100,000 plus people every week. So, and I think she's become a really good role model. I mean, like she did prove herself, I think, as a hunter first. And then, I mean, it's not uncommon to have women come up to her at functions and things like that and, tell her that, she was a big influence on them starting to hunt or, getting out with her husband and things like that. So I think having strong women role models in this industry is the key to getting more women out for sure.
Well, I think it does make a difference, and I think people are watching, listening, and paying attention. Alberta has the highest recruitment from first-time hunters and for women in North America, and that comes from a lot of influence at home. So, people like yourself, Vanessa, people are watching, people are paying attention to the little details, and that's why we're going over it. Is you started at the beginning, at the very beginning, and you did have somebody that had experience, but they learned it on their own and had found their own mentors in life too. It wasn't a family thing. A lot of people think hunting is only for those that have a dad or a brother or a sister or a grandma or someone that can take them out, show them the ropes. But life can lead you in different directions, and you never know where you're going to get your opportunity, where you're going to learn from. And I think you're a good example of somebody that learns from everything you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Brad.
It's I guess it was interesting. I was just looking at our insights for our Facebook page the other day for the TV show, and 20% of our followers are women. So, that's a pretty high number when you look at the demographic of the amount of women that hunt. I mean, we're definitely right up there.
Well, and that's what I mean. People are paying attention. The number of women hunters is growing in Alberta, and the ones that are interested and keen, they're looking for more information. They don't really want to know if their husband's jacket comes in a different size. They want to know what comes that fits them. And, they want to know what they can experience in the field or what they can expect or if they can keep up, if that opportunity is real. And I think that you portray that, whether it's your writing or television or even social media posts, you love life, and it shows through.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing for women hunters now is that there's so much more gear out there that is women specific. Clothing, rifles, archery, you name it. It gives way more opportunity for women to get out into the field.
Yeah, and I think that could be a completely different episode. One on its own is like, what is out there to help women get into the field, be more successful, feel confident, and, be able to hunt on your own or with somebody that wants to show you the ropes.
Exactly.
There had to have been some rough spots along the way. I'm sure training for your first sheep hunt had A535 involved and maybe some ice and some heat and different things, but you have some bittersweet moments?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say I do. I have a lot of memories that were all part of the journey. There's that being said, I've got to say I'm a little accident prone. So, but I still don't consider those bittersweet moments. Those were all things that I learned along the journey.
And I wouldn't say accident prone. It happens to hunters on a regular basis. And what we're talking about is Vanessa and I share something in common. We both had a quest for a mountain goat for years. And I don't know how many times you went after them, but on one of the excursions, you fell and broke your arm.
Yes, I went after a goat 5 times before I was successful. And it was on the second hunt that I broke my ulnar radius and smashed all the bones in my wrist and ended up with surgery to be able to rebuild it.
Right. TJ, I'm sure you showed nothing but care and compassion when that happened.
Yeah, no, I actually got quite a dull stick to poke her with to get her up. So, I didn't use a sharp stick.
Right.
Yeah, I think the words were when he came over to me and I was lying on the ground and I said I broke my arm, and he's like, "No, you didn't. Come on, get up, suck it up, princess." Yeah.
And then, when she did get up, and I did actually see her arm was broken, it really did take me back at that moment. I mean, certainly I went into first aid mode, and we got the fracture stabilized and wrapped, and got Vanessa ready to unfortunately hike out. It was just, there was no way we could get a helicopter or anything in like that, and it was a terrible long journey out of there, and that's a story for another day. But she really did show a lot of grit and determination that day to get out of there. I know a lot of guys who wouldn't even have come close to doing that, but it kind of does make you realize that things can go wrong out there, and man, you need to be prepared. And having wilderness first aid is definitely one of the things you need to know.
Oh, it is, and you learn that in Hunter Ed. You figure out all the things that you should cover and all the bases, and it's a pretty good start to your hunting career. I look at it as though you tried to motivate her to get up and get going, but when you realized it was a problem, that you helped take control and helped make sure that she got out safely.
I think that was part of it, and just staying calm and staying in control of the situation, and just relying on her to get herself out.
Well, and because that was the only way out.
Yep.
Yeah, so, it's funny that you don't consider that a bittersweet memory. It's just part of the journey, and I think that's a great way to look at it. Most people are going to go on hunting adventures and do different things, and they're never going to experience something like that. They might have the sore muscles, that they're going to miss things, they're, might scope themselves, but that one to me was pretty major. And if you look at it as though it's a memory along the journey, it becomes a positive, and that's a good way to look at everything in life.
Absolutely.
Let's move into some of your best memories in the field.
Well, I'll start that off, and I think probably, I mean, this was a tough one. I know you sent us a list with a few questions on it, and this is one I really struggled with because there's so many good memories, but I guess the 2 that come really instantly to mind. One was we were in Namibia in 2014, and it was kind of a dream of mine to hunt giraffe, and I wanted to hunt free-ranging giraffe in their natural desert environment, and had a great hunt and did that, and the hunt was phenomenal. But the best part of the hunt is we were taking meat back to a local village. The land we were hunting on was owned by a tribal conservancy. So we were taking the meat back to the village, and we took about 2,000 pounds of meat into a boarding school there. And when we dropped the meat off, the cooks were actually crying. They hadn't had meat in several months, and the only protein these kids ever got was hunter-supplied meat. And I think we all know, how important meat is and everything like that. But to see kids that hadn't had protein for months, and the cooks crying because you'd brought them meat. To me, it was a pretty emotional moment, and we did a really poor job of filming it just because I think it was pretty emotional for both of us. The second one that comes to mind is I was just on a walrus hunt 3 weeks ago, and I hunted walrus up in Nunavut and hunted with some young Inuit guides who were also the community hunters up there. And in the community of Coral Harbor, it's still probably one of the few places left in North America where there's true subsistence hunting. I mean, this community lives off what the land provides them, and these young Inuit guides who are also the community hunters, they're the ones who provide. So I hunted a walrus there, but they would have killed this walrus regardless. I mean, this walrus is a big part of their traditional harvest. It's just I got to be the harvester on this one, and I don't know. It was a pretty amazing moment. I guess being tied that closely and knowing that what you'd done was helping people live through the winter.
We're not that far removed from it either. We go back 50, 60 years. People in the North were still living a nomadic life, and there were no communities. I mean, it's hard for people to comprehend that people still live that lifestyle, but they do. And to be able to be part of it helps embrace things and helps you along your journey too.
It does, and it put things, I guess, in a little better perspective for me, just even supplying meat to my mom and dad and, their friends and things like that. I mean, yeah, it's on a smaller scale and maybe not as critical to their survival, but it's still a part of the big picture and in being a hunter and provider.
Yeah, I think that's important. I know it is for me. I share a lot of wild game, especially with people that show interest in trying it, and I write a lot of recipes, and we do a lot of things with Harvest Your Own and go to waterfowl warm-up and the pheasant festival and try to encourage people to try new things, try new recipes, and embrace what they do harvest. So to me, it's got a long history, and it's part of who we are as hunters, and I think it'll always be there for me, wanting to share that and help provide for others as well. Vanessa, you must have a couple outstanding experiences that stand out.
Well, I've got to say, I'm kind of like TJ. I believe that all of my adventures have been absolutely amazing, and they all share their own separate memories. One that does come to mind for me was we did our very, very first trip to Africa in 2009, and it was a trip to Namibia. And I figured this was going to be my once-in-a-lifetime trip to Africa. I dreamt of going to Africa all my life. And one of the things that we were doing was we were going to do the SCI Blue Bag program. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's where you bring school supplies and everything else for some of the smaller communities in Africa or around the world for that matter. And so what I did was I contacted a couple of people in the Northern Alberta chapter of Safari Club, and they organized through some schools in Edmonton to gather up school supplies. And then they sent them all down to me, and I went through them all, and we had, it was about 200 pounds of school supplies. And so we arranged with our outfitter to go to one of the schools in the Conservancy. We brought all the school supplies, but we also brought meat with us along. And they had this cool, it was called the meat hanging tree. And you hung the meat in the tree, and then they went and they would harvest, like they would take that meat out of the tree. And the kids were so excited to see all of these school supplies and to see the meat. It was absolutely amazing. And then what I did was I got a huge world map that was plasticized so they could hang it on their school wall. And then I showed them where we lived, and I showed them where they lived. And it was the most amazing experience of my life.
It sounds amazing. Again, reaching out to help others and see how other people live is enlightening.
This podcast was made possible by Alberta Conservation Association and the Harvest Your Own community. If you're interested in harvesting your own food, there's a comprehensive collection of information to gain insight and knowledge. Head to the field, harvest your own protein, prepare it, and taste the results. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a library of information from getting started and geared up to processing, butchering, and cooking wild game to make the connection between health and food.
Now, another big question is, you guys maybe could tell us a little bit about Outdoor Quest Television and what it is. You are the longest running hunting show in Canada, I believe.
Yeah, so started filming in Outdoor Quest TV in 1999. So we're just on our 23rd season of broadcast right now, and we are the longest running hunting television show in Canada that's ever been. I mean, I think you probably, like me, grew up with, Red Fisher and people like that, and, thought, man, I could never be on TV that long, and now I'm an old guy like Red. But so we started the TV show with Richard and Sandy Mellon, and continued with them until 2014. And Richard and Sandy started a break-off show about trapping, and their kind of love of trapping kind of took over their lives, and so they decided it was best if they left Outdoor Quest TV and just continued on with the trapping and the trapping show. So Vanessa and I have been doing Outdoor Quest TV on our own for since 2014. So it's been an amazing journey. We started broadcasting in the U.S. There were no networks at all in Canada to broadcast on. Then we switched over to Wild TV. We broadcast on Wild TV the very first day it started in Canada. And then 4 years ago, we switched to Sportsman Channel Canada. And I don't know, our show has morphed over the years. I remember one season in 13 episodes, we had 42 kills in it. And, I think at that time, television was about showing kills on hunting television shows. And now, typically we'll have maybe one harvest on an episode, and, sometimes it'll be a two-part show for one kill. And I think that's where our show's really changed. And that's probably, we all know the 5 stages that hunters go through. And I think our show has gone through those 5 stages. And now it's so much about the experience. We've just kind of slowed everything down in the way we film and the way we hunt and the way we tell the story. So if we go to Africa and, we have a 2 or 3 day hunt for a kudu, I want to take a whole episode and show that. So people know what's involved there. And I think people are starting to appreciate that. And our demographics, obviously an older age group, just, like we are. And I think they appreciate that style that we've developed. And, I'm sure there's a lot of young kids that don't like what we do. And that's fine. Like, you're never going to please everyone on television. But I don't know, that tagline keeps coming back. The hunt is about the journey. And we want to share every minute of that journey, even in the 22 minutes we're on television.
Well, when you make it a journey, it is entertaining, it is educational, and it has influence. Like, we just come through some COVID years, and I really enjoyed your episodes from Alberta, and you had them dedicated to certain elk hunts and deer hunts. And, one of the other things that shows me how much you've embraced hunting and what you need to do is Vanessa was even harvesting local deer with her bow. So, you continue to change and morph, as you said, but I think it's all good, and it continues to entertain, educate, and influence people.
Well, we want to be who we are on television. Like, there's nothing contrived, nothing phony about what we show on television. We're showing you who we are as hunters and how we hunt. One of the challenges we face is it's just Vanessa and I, and we have to produce 13 episodes a year. So thankfully we love to travel, and we try to get, 6 or 7 episodes from our overseas trips every year. But, that still leaves us 6 or 7 episodes to do here in Canada. And for us, we plan on, like, from September till the end of November, we pretty much hunt Alberta exclusively. We may pop over to an adjacent province or something like that, but, we try not to plan anything internationally because we love hunting here at home. And I know people like to see that. And, the point you make about the COVID stuff, all of a sudden we couldn't travel and we couldn't get those 6 or 7 episodes overseas. So we really had to embrace everything that Alberta had to offer. And it was good. We reconnected with some old friends. We did a lot more waterfowl hunting, which is something, we hadn't done for a lot of years and love to do. And, Vanessa's the bow hunter of the two of us for sure. She lives to bow hunt and loves to bow hunt. So, she got more serious about bow hunting, which brought us some more episodes. So COVID, as bad as it was, there was some good to us. And, not that we ever forgot how great Alberta was, but man, it sure made us rediscover and reappreciate what we have here.
Yeah, when I look at your journey in television and the years and with Vanessa and what you both do together, I see that you dive into things and become experts. You talk about waterfowl hunting, shotguns, loads, camo, decoys, optics, long-range shooting, bullets, bullet construction, how they work, clothing, boots. There's a lot of education in your shows, and I think that's what a lot of people that are aspiring to hunt or first-time hunters or people who want more success in the field are looking for. So,
well, and that was kind of a switch in our show probably 5 or 6 years ago. Is Vanessa and I kind of sat down and looked at, and our show's morphing all the time, as I mentioned, and one of the things we looked at was people want more education. They don't want 22 minutes of it, but man, they sure love 2 or 3 minutes of it. So that was something we kind of talked about together and came up with a plan that in every episode we'd have a 2 or 3 minute tip. And I mean, certainly we're using our sponsors' products in those tips, but our tips are universal. I mean, it doesn't matter what scope you're using or what ammunition or rifle or clothes you're using. We try to keep our tips so they will work for you no matter what brands you're using. And I think Vanessa's brought a pretty unique perspective to that how-to stuff, talking from a woman's perspective.
Definitely. I mean, with the newer gear that's out there that can fit women, we can bring so much more to the table for those women hunters. And, clothing, rifles, archery equipment, it makes it so that they can get out into the field, be more comfortable, be more efficient, and be more successful.
Yeah, and I think there's even a broader message, bigger, more important, is that people are intimidated, but you can become accomplished at anything you tackle. Like you can become an expert at optics and understand it, and bullets and know which one to choose, and how to match arrows to the weight of your bow. And you've been through that learning curve with everything.
Yeah, and I think for both Vanessa and I, we are a bit of perfectionists, and when we do something, we want to do it right. And I kind of hate the word expert in some ways, because I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know, kind of thing. But I try to only talk about what I know. And if I don't know something, man, I'm going to learn everything I can about it. I'm going to talk to people who are experts. Sometimes we'll have experts on the show to talk about things that we aren't comfortable talking about. But you're right. There's so much knowledge available out there. And I mean, you just have to spend a day or two on social media to realize like how few people actually go out there and seek out that knowledge that's there. And I guess that became part of our mantra, is like, we want to share that knowledge, and we don't want to be the experts. We just kind of want to be the conduit of, that knowledge from the experts to our viewers.
Yes, it's because you're a sponge with all of it as well. So again, it's part of that journey. I think your tagline is very appropriate for who you are and what you do and what you've accomplished.
Well, and it all comes down to being successful in the field, yes, but I think the big thing is getting that humane kill. I mean, as hunters, that's our ultimate goal, is when we take a life of an animal, we want to do it quickly and efficiently, and the more knowledgeable we become, the better we become at that.
Exactly. Yeah. And we can overcome those jitters for first-time hunters by embracing the knowledge and making sure you're prepared and going with people that if you don't know, that do know the answers and where to head.
Yeah, and I mean, I grew up without mentors, and man, I made a lot of pretty bad mistakes along the way that, even the internet or something like that definitely could have helped, or watching a YouTube video, or, even better hunter education. I mean, I look at the hunter education courses nowadays, and they're so much more complete than what we grew up with. So in some ways, becoming a hunter nowadays is so much easier than it was, like, when we all started.
Yes, times have changed, and the way people get in is certainly different. The information highway is incredible nowadays. So people that are interested in learning and getting out, they can watch shows like yours, The Outdoor Quest. Harvest Your Own has a lot of information. Do you have any last words of advice for people that are wanting to get into hunting or are trying it for the first time and are looking for more success?
Don't be afraid to reach out. If you don't come from a hunting background, if you don't have family members that hunt, reach out to people that do. I mean, we get emails all the time from people who are interested in getting started in hunting and, where they should look, who they should talk to. Fish and game clubs are a great place to go. There's all kinds of conservation organizations. There's sheep and there's elk and there's ducks and everything else. And I mean, get yourself around hunters. I would say would probably be the biggest thing you can do. And once you get yourself around hunters, there's people going to take you in, mentor you. Hunters are good people. For the most part, we've met hunters from all over the world, and there's hardly a city we can go to, in North America and in a lot of places in the world where if we haven't met a hunter from there, I could put a post up on social media and probably be having dinner with someone there that night. And it's not because of who I am or anything else. It's because I'm a hunter, and there's that bond between hunters. So if you are interested in hunting, just find a way to surround yourself with hunters. And there's lots of easy ways to do that.
I think that's great advice. Vanessa, you got any words of wisdom and some parting advice?
Well, he actually stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the first thing you want to do is join a fish and game club, Safari Club International chapter, volunteer, and just, there's a ton of social media groups out there, even Facebook pages. There's a ton of women's Facebook pages that are all surrounding hunting and fishing and being in the outdoors. That's a great place to start. Everybody's super friendly. The camaraderie out there for hunters and fishermen is incredible, and nobody is going to turn you away if you are willing to learn.
Yeah, it's funny. I heard that once. I was at an outdoors show, and father was talking to his kids, and he says, "Listen, if we happen to get separated, look for somebody in hunting camo. I know they're going to help you." And that's a true story.
Good advice.
People,
non-hunters would probably tell their kids don't look for people in camo, but
right.
100% true. Like once you're in that community, and it's just such a welcoming, good bunch of people, and I think it's why it's become our 24/7 lifestyle. Like I can't think of people we'd rather be around,
or a better lifestyle.
Well, this is true too.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a healthy lifestyle.
Yes, in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's good for the body and the soul and the mind.
Exactly.
People that would like to follow you, where can they find you?
Probably the easiest place to follow us is on our Facebook page, and it's just Outdoor Quest TV. We're still kind of old, gray-haired people that rely on.
Speak for yourself.
They rely on Facebook a lot, and we're quite active on our Facebook page, and we share a lot on there. I mean, we have a website as well, but I would tell people just go to our Facebook page and follow us there. We pretty much talk about everything we're doing and have all kinds of great discussions on there. I'm famous for throwing up controversial subjects, trying to get people's thoughts and influence. I think we need to talk more about hunting, and that's what we try to use social media for.
Yeah, you do a good job of it. You put the question out there, and sometimes you get some pretty crazy responses, but it makes people think. That's what we're trying to do, is encourage people, make them think, and it sort of
think and talk.
Yeah. Open the dialogue.
Exactly. I'd like to thank you for sharing your journey with the listeners tonight. I think it's a great one, and you've had some incredible experiences all around the world, but you've had lots of them right here at home, and people that are looking to get out and shoot their first duck or the first deer or whatever it is, it could change your life drastically, and that's why we had Vanessa and TJ here tonight to express that and share where this journey could take you.
Well, and where it starts too, and I think I kind of brought this up the other day with somebody. We all start at an equal place, and it's the decisions we make along the way is where we end up. So, I guess you look at someone like you, Brad, that's had a tremendously successful career in the hunting industry, and I think some people look with envy, but really people should look how to emulate you, not envy you, but how to emulate what you've done. And man, if you can ever get on that track, you'll live a good lifestyle.
Yeah, it's very rewarding in many ways, and nowadays I really enjoy sharing the messages with people and encouraging people, and having guests on like yourself just to make sure that we share that community as in as many ways as possible.
Well, thanks for having us on, Brad.
Yes, thank you so much, Brad.
Yep, thank you. We hope to inspire people to reconnect with nature and appreciate where your food comes from by harvesting your own. For more information on getting started or to learn specifics about the Field to Fork experience, visit harvestyourown.ca and follow on Facebook and Instagram. Check back often for new material, recipes, and videos that are posted regularly. Please subscribe to Harvest Your Own podcast and take the time to rate and review the show to help us build a dedicated core of passionate hunters as our regular audience. Until next time, embrace the outdoors and all it has to offer. Thanks for joining us.